So, hello and welcome to the Happiness Telesummit. My name is Erica Glessing and I'm your host. I am excited to be here today. I've set the energy this year of the Happiness Telesummit on activation, really activating happiness. And my next guest is joining me from back east. Welcome, Janet.
Well, thank you very much, Erica. I'm so happy and honored to be here.
So Janet Dunn has an amazing background, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her journey. She's an author of a new book, The Energy of Healing, and she has some wonderful gifts that, I would say, Janet, you earned them.
Thank you. Yes, I've been in training for many years now.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and what got you interested in healing, and then usually what I'll do is I kind of I'm kind of good at listening to what our listeners might ask you, and then I'll just keep kind of asking questions after that. But why don't you just go ahead and get started?
Okay. Well, I started in 1972 in the School of Yoga. And then shortly following that, meditation. And I guess I was like 22 or 23 years old, and I was searching. I felt very unbalanced in my life. I didn't know the direction. I didn't know my purpose. I was just all over the place. And I'm not even sure how yoga came to be, but it did. And it just took a hold of me, or I took a hold of that. And it has been a true blessing in my life. It gave me this sense of being grounded, connected to the earth.
Nice.
And from there, I could really breathe. And from there, I could start to really see what I really wanted to create in my life. And one of those big things was I'm a tourist, and I love the earth, and I love nature. I just love hiking, all of those kind of things. I grew up in that kind of environment, and so it just brought me back more to that. And I guess meditation was my medication. I have to say that over and over again to people, because that was just like maybe the crown of it all. And I've been meditating ever since then. And so what are we, 2015, and I'm now 63, going to be 64. So that's a pretty long time.
I would say so. I'd say you have a few Girl Scout badges from those years.
Thank you. And so then from that point, those days you didn't necessarily have to have a teaching certification, but then, I have 4 children, and when my oldest daughter, and maybe it was like 1997, she was almost ready to graduate from high school, I decided that I wanted to graduate from yoga school. And so I went to Kripalu, which is in the state of Massachusetts in Lenox, and it's a great place. Nice. And that's where I got my first certification. And I was telling this to somebody recently. It's just so funny how things happen, because the last module of our training, we had to do a teacher yoga to be certified. We had to teach a class. And the night before that, I woke up with the worst toothache you could imagine. I mean, my tooth was throbbing, my mouth was throbbing, my head was throbbing, my whole body was throbbing. Wow. And I didn't sleep, and I was thinking, how am I ever going to do this? And I went to the teacher of that program, and I said, Melanie, I don't know what to do. And she said, well, just try it. I took a few breaths. I got really grounded. And I lost the toothache. Wow. I taught the class. It went really well. And as soon as the class was over, boom, 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 came back the toothache. And it's just kind of funny how that is, though. But it really taught me something about, you put your mind to something. Actually, you put your heart to something, and things shift. And my intention for that class was to be present, to do the best job that I could, and I did. Yeah. And then, that's just kind of how I've led my life. That's how I had my children. That's how I raised my children. I homeschooled my kids. I went on to learn more and more yoga, but I never lost the practice of yoga. I never lost the practice of meditation. And consequently, 2 of my children are yoga teachers.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and
How
that's really,
wonderful.
yeah, that's a really wonderful thing. We have a great thing to
Yeah.
share. I went to one other teacher training with my oldest daughter, Margaret, but you never know how you plant the seeds in your life. And the big journey for me has been being a mother.
Mm.
And I lived kind of the hippie life, and I raised all of my food almost organically, all organically. I was very involved with Waldorf education, and I brought that back to the homeschooling. We had homeschooling groups. We had all of those things kind of before they were really, that was happening. That was kind of an unusual thing back in the
Mhm.
80s and in the 90s. But from all of that experience of raising our own animals and all of that and our own food and the yoga, um, my kids have just lived their life like that. They're in nature, they're in meditation, they're in nutrition, and all of that. So, all of the things that I have tried to inspire have not just inspired other people outside of my family, it's been within my family. So
Mm.
it's a kind of a circle, a big circle
Yeah.
of inspiring one another to do the best and to be the best. And it's really been, my life has been like everybody else's life. We all have challenges. But what's kept me consistent is knowing that this is truly my path, and this is uh, the way to live my life. I believe that you love what is, and you do the best with whatever it is. What comes to be with you, and I just know that breathing,
Amazing.
getting deep within myself has been my inspiration.
Well, in your healing chapter, you talk a little bit about divorce, yes?
Mm.
And that's something I've had to grapple with as well. So, why don't you share for the audience, because since I've kind of been open about this during the summit, some of the things that you've gone through in your healing, kind of back to yourself and your journey into that place of healing, um, making some challenging choices along the way.
Well, there's always challenging choices to make. And this one, I often thought, throughout the years, I'd been married to my husband for over 30 years. And it was not an easy relationship. Love, love, love that man. We had really wonderful times together. But at the same time, it was a very challenging relationship. But I also think, Erica, that we go back to the challenging relationships that we truly have within ourselves. It's not necessarily about that person out there, that husband, that friend, or all of that. They're just there to show you. They're your
Mm.
teachers. And Harold, my husband, has been a huge teacher for me in the sense of getting free, to
Mm.
really loving who I am and coming home to myself, the big S self. So I thought over and over again, I'm going to leave this man, I'm going to start all over again. And for whatever reason, I kept coming back. That reason would be the big fear of the unknown. So I would get in my car, and at that time, I remember it was a great big, like an Impala, I think, and I would load the children up. This is it, I'm leaving. We get in the car, and then maybe 20 minutes, 20 miles away, I turn the car around, come back home.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was really because I started, the voices in my head were going, Janet, what are you doing? You can't do this. You don't know what you're doing. How are you going to survive? How are you going to feed your children? How are you going to find peace? And, all of those self-sabotaging thoughts. And so then I would come back. And I've been kind of fighting that for a very, very long time. until this year, I said, that's it. Enough is enough. And I know that I'm on the right path, and I hope that I can inspire other women to work through their own fear. And that's what it is. Fear is the
Wow.
opposite of love.
Nice.
And now I love who I am.
Mm.
And it's funny because when you love who you are, your heart just gets so much bigger. It's expanded. So this is what I say. I love
Wow.
everybody. Doesn't mean I like everybody, but I love everybody.
Wow. What would you say to someone who's in a position where they're still married and they absolutely like are done? And yet there's that feeling of, my story was the moment I knew I was done, it was in a July of 2011. And it was just for me, it was like a click, like it was instant. The minute I knew I was done for me, Janet, I didn't actually look back. Like it was over. Like I had thought about getting out for a few years before, but the moment it was actually like I was just not going to be in that abusive thing anymore, it was just an instant. But other women I talk to are trying to get up the courage. Do you know? They're trying to find that place where they could make it on their own, or maybe they've been financially dependent, and what can you say to women and men too, I suppose? I had a friend who's a male who his wife was so brutal and mean and abusive, and he couldn't find the strength to leave her until he caught her with someone else. And then that was easy for him. But I want to just maybe bring light into this because, nothing happens like for no reason. And we met for a reason.
Absolutely. Yes.
Let's just give why don't you pull from where the courage that you found? Certainly the word that's showing up for me, and sometimes I ask long-winded questions, but is the Moors. And I call the Moors like the hockey moms. Like they were just so much more, excuse me, they were so much more comfortable with the other Erica. They knew the other Erica, I
Yes.
dress prettier now. I feel better now. I'm happier now. I'm more relaxed now. But I don't look, act, and feel. I don't have the same name as I did. And so I don't want to mislead anyone making this choice, because for me, I found like a whole new circle of loving friends, but it really did cause a lot of change. So maybe whatever you have to show up would be helpful.
Well, for me personally, I think the key is to be willing. To be willing to really look at what is not working, what is working, and what you truly, truly want deep, deep in your heart. And how do you get to that? By surrender. You have to get quiet with yourself. You have to really listen to that little tiny voice, and we all have it, but we have to be quiet in order to hear it. And so I say meditation is really wonderful. I also am a true proponent of prayer. So I have gotten on my knees, I cannot tell you how many times. I have cried, I have prayed, I have asked, and I have surrendered. And every time that I ask, truly ask from, as I said, from my heart, the answer comes. And I listen. And I feel like, to me, the angels, divine spirit, all of that is essential in my life. That's my guidance. I feel like I can, and I was just there last night. It was kind of funny you're asking me that, because I was laying in bed, and in the middle of the night, this happens to me sometimes, a voice will go off and it will say something to the effect, who do you think you are? I'm going back to the ego thoughts. Janet, who are you? You're not going to make it in this business, or blah, blah, blah. It goes on. And I just said, shut the hell up. I just shut it out.
Wow.
And then from there, I said, okay, angels, I'm ready. Please come and help me here. And
Yeah.
honestly, Erica, I felt like I was just being swooped up by the
Wow.
angel's wings, just held like that.
Wow.
And I've done that so many times I cannot tell you. But
Wow.
that is truly my that's been such a gift to me, and it has
Yeah.
helped me every single time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
I
ask.
I love it because when I was going through my divorce, I was raised in a family, I guess that they were Irish Catholic, and there was a lot of handed down stuff, Italian, a lot of handed down beliefs about the wrongness of divorce. And I bought into a lot of that. I didn't marry till I was pretty old, as like in my mid 30s. And then when it was time for divorce, I did so much prayer and I got so connected to God and source energy. And I let that be the guide to be safe and sane again from the abuse.
Yes.
And I sat there in that safeness of that all embrace. And Janet, even yesterday, I was looking at a new house. It's so pretty for my kids. And as I'm leaving, I saw a license plate that said healing.
Perfect.
Right? And then
Yes.
I said, could I have one more sign? That was really good. And I look up on the it's like a freeway. It's like this wide freeway cement block thing, right? That's like holding up an overpass. And there was this huge letter G, and that's my maiden name's, G. And,
Uh-huh.
and I look up because I was like, okay, that was really good. Can I have one more sign?
Oh my God, that's
And
perfect.
this G is like 4 feet big and 2 feet wide. And none of the other posts on the freeway had a letter.
There is no mistake.
I was like, right? And here I am in this, like, just doing something that feels so like out of my comfort zone for the safety of my children. And I'm going, and I'm being shown I mean, exactly what you said, Janet, like exactly what you said. Like, I'm just in that space of awe that the universe, that there could be so much kindness, you know?
So much kindness, and it's essential to be present.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more that that's your intention, the more aware you are of everything. And there
Yeah.
are signs constantly, whether it be in numbers or sounds or pictures
Yeah.
or whatever, they're
Yeah.
there. So
Well,
we have to be quiet.
yeah, I'm not very
And
quiet.
I
But I do
and you
ask a lot
know,
of questions.
okay. Uh and you know what? I think that's important to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
We're seekers. We're learning. We're here on this earth to learn so many things, but we have to be
Mm,
willing to really take the time. And
yeah.
then I feel like the rest will come. So the prayer that I am totally into now, I mean, prayers and books and everything, they come and go, they change. But the prayer that really means so much to me at this time in my life is, Dear God, please make me whom you want me to be and take me where you want me to go.
Oh, I love
And
it.
yeah, and that's it right there.
So tell us where we can find you and kind of what you're teaching right now, what people can learn from you right now.
Well, I believe that we are the greatest teachers when we have these experiences ourselves. So, what's my population? What's the women that I work with? I work with women who are in crisis,
Mm,
women that are suffering from their thoughts and just spinning around. They may be going through divorce, they may be going through financial and that can go together, but financial deceival or upheaval rather, women that just don't know what to do with their life. It's transitions of children moving away. It goes on, but they're just in that place of fear. That's what I love. And I work, my website is the Tao of Delicious Health. Or
Okay,
Janet
and we can
Louise,
include that here. Yeah.
yes, and Janet Louise Dunn. That's my website also. So they're all linking together. But that's my big forte. I teach people about living their life and loving themselves and self-acceptance and just to be, loving what is. That's my motto. I teach that in yoga. I teach that through meditation. I teach that through life coaching. Whatever I do, it's always about love your life.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today on the Happiness Telesummit. Thank you for coming.
Wow. Thank you so much. Be well.